Hello and welcome to this tutorial for the card game Aeon's End. In this game you'll be working together with the other players to save your home and everyone who lives there. And that goes like this. You are going to play until you all either win the game or you all lose the game. You win the game if the big enemy has been defeated. And you also win the game if this deck of cards that belongs to the enemy is empty and it doesn't have any smaller monster minions that are still alive. That's two ways to win the game. You all lose the game if everyone's health is 0 or your home has been reduced to 0. You keep track of that on this dial. That's two ways to lose the game. So, how do you play the game? What do you do when it's your turn? First, you have to see if it's even your turn. As soon as the last player has finished their turn, you flip over the next card of this turn order deck. During the setup, it was decided which player you are. I'm player number 1, so I have this token with a 1 on my character board. If the next card shows number 1, it's my turn. If the next card shows your number, it's your turn. And when it's my turn, this is what I do. Each turn is 3 steps. Step 1. Deal with the spells that you have above your own player board. Step 2. Do as many actions as you like. Step 3. Place all the cards that you used on the discard pile and refill your hand back up to 5 cards. That's it. First do spells, then do actions, then take new cards. That's what you do when it's your turn. Let's go through those in a bit more detail. In a previous turn, you have placed spells up here. These cards were in your hand and you put them here. If a spell is above one of these tiles that are turned to the yellow side, the opened breach, then you can do the spell if you want, but you don't have to. If there is a spell above a tile that isn't flipped over to the yellow side yet, the closed breach, then you must do it. You don't have a choice, you have to do this spell. Just look at whatever it says on the card and follow the instructions. This one says, deal 1 damage. The first thing I do is place this card on the discard pile. That's on the right side of my own player board. And then I do what it says. I deal 1 damage. I take this dial, which is the enemy's health, and I turn it down by 1. I know the dial you have looks different from mine, but don't worry about that. So that's the first thing you do during your turn. It's up to you in which order you want to do your spells. You don't have to go from left to right. But the only rule is that if you have a spell above a closed breach, then you must do it. You can't leave it for a later turn, like you can with the ones that are an open breach. Any spell that is up here is prepared. It's called a prepped spell. When you've dealt with all your spells, you get to step 2 of each turn. You can do as many actions as you like and can. You have the cards from your hand to work with. When you use them, just place them somewhere open in front of you, not on a discard pile. That comes later at the end of your turn. Also, most of the time you will use these cards as money. It's not actually money, but for me that makes it easier to understand. Many cards show this small icon. Looks a bit like the letter S. For example, this card says gain 2, so that means you can use this card as 2 money. In the game it's called ether, I call it money. Anyway, when it's your turn, you have your hand of cards to work with, and you can keep going with doing actions until you decide you're done. And then you finish your turn with step 3. The cards that you use go face up onto your own discard pile. It's up to you in which order you want to put them there, and that's actually quite important. I'll explain in a moment. Once you've put all your cards away, you end your turn by refilling your hand up to 5 cards. So if you still had 1 card left that you didn't use, you take 4 new cards from your own draw deck on the left side of your player board. Then you have 5 cards again. But if your draw deck ever runs out, you do not take your discard pile and shuffle it. You take the discard pile exactly as it is and just flip it over. No shuffling allowed in a game of Aeon's End, at least not for the cards that you use. Your draw deck will now be in the exact same order as you discarded your cards. Either way, that is the end of your turn. You have 5 cards in your hand, and you might have some spells ready to go when it's your turn again. Flip over the top card from the turn order deck to see who goes next. If this deck ever runs out, then this one you are allowed to shuffle. Alright, what are all the things you can do when it's your turn? You can play cards to get money, that ether, and use it to buy new cards from here. This is the market. Each card shows in the top right corner how much it costs. When you have enough money to pay for it, take the card and place it on your own discard pile. When it's your turn, you can use spells that you have in your hand. If you want, you can place a spell above a tile that doesn't already have one. Only 1 spell per tile. The spell is now prepped, so if the spell has anything written on it about doing something when it's prepped, you can do that now. But you can't do the spell, of course. That always happens at the very start of your turn. If you have any relic cards in your hand, you can play them and do whatever they say. The cards will speak for themselves. Here's an example of a relic card. Another thing you can do during your turn is pay 2 money to take one of these little square tokens. They go on the bottom of your own player board here. It tells you that it costs 2 money per piece. As soon as you have filled up all the spaces, then at any time during your turn, you can do the special ability of your own character. It's written on your player board what your unique skill is. Spend all the little tokens, they go back into the supply, and then you can do this. There's another thing you can do with these tiles. As I've said, if a spell is by a flipped over yellow tile, you can always choose if you want to do it. If it's not flipped over yet, if it's closed, then you must do it. So how do you flip them over? You can pay money to turn the tile 1 time. The price for giving it a turn is written at the top side. Here, this is how much you have to pay to turn this tile from this to this. You always have to turn it clockwise. It's called focus. You also have the option to flip it over, but that's more expensive. That's the price that it says here, to open. If the tile is ever with the yellow section at the top, then the next time you pay for it, you do open it. Then you can flip it over. It's also up to you which tile you do this with. You don't have to go from left to right. And some tiles give you a special ability when they're flipped over to the open side. And basically, those are all the things you can do when it's your turn. Spend these gem cards to get money, and sometimes relic cards also give you money. Spend that money to buy new cards, or to get these little square tokens to put on your board, or to focus or open these tiles. spend relic cards to do whatever they say, place a spell above a tile, maybe that gives you another instruction to follow. Same goes for instructions that you follow when a card tells you you get something for discarding a card. Just look at what the cards say, they will speak for themselves. And if you have all the little square tokens on your board, you can spend all of them to do your own character's special ability that is written on the board. Those are all the things you can do when it's your turn. Of course, we're not done yet. It's nice to know that you and the other players what you can do to fight the enemy, but the enemy isn't going to sit back and let all of this happen without putting up a fight. In this turn order, there are 2 cards that say Nemesis. As soon as you flip over one of these, that means it's the enemy's turn. So, how does that go? What do you do when you flip over a Nemesis card? The enemy's turn has 2 steps. Step 1. Deal with the enemy cards that are still open on the table. Step 2. Draw a new card from the enemy's deck. It's possible that in a previous turn you flipped over a card that is a smaller monster, a minion, and that's still on the table to be defeated. If the card says persistent, then you have to follow that instruction now. That's the thing the minion will keep doing during the enemy's turn until you have defeated it. When you deal damage with a spell, you have the choice to deal the damage to the main enemy or the minion. If you damage the minion, take off the health tokens from the card. Another card that stays on the table until it's resolved is the power card. It will clearly say power on it, and further instructions. When you've dealt with the minion cards and the power cards, it's time for step 2 of the enemy's turn. Flip over the top card of the enemy deck. If the card says attack, do whatever it says, and then discard it. If it's another minion, put the right number of health tokens on it, and follow the instructions that you're supposed to do immediately. If it's another power card, put some of these round power tokens on it. The card will tell you how many. And then also follow the instructions for what the card says, for what you have to do immediately. As soon as a card has no more power tokens on it, you can discard it. Also keep in mind that each main enemy has things written on the board. If you're ever instructed to follow the unleash thing, then that's what it says here on the enemy board. And there are some other things on how an enemy affects the gameplay. Read those carefully and make sure to do whatever it says. If the enemy ever has no more health left on its dial, then it's dead and you win the game. If there are no more cards to flip over and no more minions or power cards, you also win the game. If you ever run out of health, you are not out of the game. You can still play, but you will make things easier for the enemy. Read the rulebook for how that goes. It's quite simple. Because then I can wrap this up. This is how you play Aeon's End. I hope you feel you're ready enough to give it a go and that you'll have fun with it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment and see you for the next one.